From the moment I met Trevor, my husband Alex's best friend, I felt a sense of unease. It was nothing I could pinpoint exactly, no obvious red flags, just a gut feeling that something wasn't quite right. Alex and Trevor had been inseparable since childhood, their bond forged through years of shared secrets, mischievous adventures, and unwavering loyalty. Alex spoke of him often, painting a picture of a man who was practically family. So why did I feel so unsettled around him? Trevor was charming, no doubt about it. With his quick wit, easy smile, and the ability to light up a room, he seemed to effortlessly win people over. When Alex and I got married, Trevor gave a heartfelt speech at our wedding, making everyone laugh and tear up in equal measure. But even then, as I watched him toast to our future, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that his charisma was more calculated than genuine. For a while, I chalked up my discomfort to jealousy. Alex and Trevor's friendship was a powerful force, and at times, I felt like an outsider in my own marriage. They had inside jokes, shared memories, and a history I couldn't compete with. Whenever Trevor visited, which was often, I'd find myself retreating to the bedroom or busying myself with chores just to give them space. But deep down, I knew my feelings went beyond simple envy. One night, everything changed. It started innocuously enough. Alex was working late, and Trevor dropped by unexpectedly with a bottle of wine. "Just thought I'd keep you company," he said, flashing that trademark grin. I hesitated, but politeness won out. We sat in the living room, the bottle of Merlot between us, and made small talk. For the first time, Trevor seemed genuinely interested in me, my work, my hobbies, my dreams. I started to wonder if I'd misjudged him. Then came the questions. Subtle at first, but increasingly personal. "Are you happy with Alex?" he asked, swirling his wineglass. I bristled, caught off guard. "Of course I am," I replied, forcing a smile. "I mean, really happy?" He pressed, leaning in just slightly. "Because I've known Alex a long time and I know he can be difficult." "Difficult how?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Trevor shrugged, feigning nonchalance. He's always been so focused on himself. I worry sometimes that he doesn't appreciate you the way he should." The conversation left me rattled, but I dismissed it as Trevor's misguided attempt to bond with me. When Alex came home later that night, I didn't mention it. Why stir the pot over what was probably nothing? But Trevor's visits became more frequent after that. Each time, he'd find a way to steer the conversation toward Alex's flaws or my supposed unhappiness. He'd drop cryptic comments about things Alex had done in the past, things that didn't align with the man I thought I knew. "He's changed a lot since we were kids," Trevor would say with a sigh, leaving the rest unsaid. Doubt began to creep in. I started noticing little things about Alex that I'd overlooked before: his occasional moodiness, his tendency to retreat into work, the way he sometimes seemed distracted even when we were together. Were these signs of deeper issues, or was I letting Trevor's words get into my head? The breaking point came on a rainy Saturday evening. Alex had gone to a friend's bachelor party, leaving me home alone. Around 9 p.m., Trevor showed up unannounced, drenched from the storm. "Car broke down," he explained, dripping water onto the welcome mat. "Mind if I wait here for a tow?" I hesitated but relented, handing him a towel and a cup of coffee. As the minutes turned into hours, I grew increasingly uneasy. Trevor was too comfortable, lounging on the couch like he owned the place. And then, as the clock neared midnight, he made his move. "You deserve better, you know," he said softly, his gaze locking onto mine. Before I could respond, he was beside me, his hand brushing against mine. "I've always thought so." "Trevor, stop," I said, standing abruptly. My voice was shaking. "You need to leave." He didn't move. Instead, he stood too, towering over me. "Why?" "Because you're afraid to admit you feel it too." "Feel what?" I snapped, my anger finally outweighing my fear. This is disgusting. Get out of my house." Trevor's expression darkened, the charm evaporating in an instant. "You're making a mistake," he said coldly. "Alex doesn't deserve you." He never has. When Alex came home that night, I told him everything. At first, he didn't believe me. Trevor would never do that, he said, shaking his head. You must have misunderstood. But as I recounted the events in painstaking detail, his disbelief turned to rage. The next day, Alex confronted Trevor. Their argument was loud enough that the neighbors heard, and it ended with Alex punching Trevor square in the jaw. That was the last time Trevor set foot in our home. In the weeks that followed, Alex and I worked to rebuild the trust that Trevor had tried to undermine. It wasn't easy. The doubts he'd planted didn't vanish overnight, and there were moments when I questioned everything: my marriage, my judgment, even myself. But with time, we grew stronger. Alex cut ties with Trevor, choosing our relationship over a friendship that had spanned decades. Looking back, I realized that my gut instinct had been right all along. Trevor's charm masked a manipulative streak that he'd honed over years. He'd seen my marriage as something he could exploit, a way to get what he wanted without regard for the consequences. In the days following Trevor's final exit, I felt a peculiar sense of freedom, though it was tinged with sadness for Alex. Losing someone you've known your entire life isn't easy, and while I couldn't forgive Trevor for what he'd done, I understood the pain Alex must have felt. To help us heal, we decided to take a trip together, a way to reconnect away from the memories Trevor had tainted. We chose a quiet cabin in the mountains, far removed from our busy lives and the shadow of recent events. For the first time in years, it felt like we were truly alone, without the distractions of work, friends, or obligations. We spent our days hiking, cooking together, and talking late into the night. Alex opened up about his history with Trevor, sharing stories I'd never heard before, both good and bad. It was as if he was processing the loss in real time, and in doing so, we found a new depth to our relationship. During one of those long conversations by the fire, Alex admitted something that surprised me. I think I'd always known Trevor wasn't good for me, he said, staring into the flames. But when someone's been part of your life for so long, it's hard to let go. He had this way of making me feel like I owed him something, like I wouldn't be who I am without him. You don't owe him anything, I said firmly, taking his hand. You've built your life, our life, through your own choices. Trevor doesn't define you. As the days turned into weeks, I saw Alex begin to shed the weight of his past. He started reconnecting with other friends, people who brought positivity into his life rather than drama. Together, we rebuilt the foundation of our marriage, stronger than before. We made a promise to always communicate openly, to never let doubts or fears fester in silence. Now, whenever I feel that familiar unease, I don't ignore it. I've learned to listen to my gut, to trust that inner voice that so often knows the truth before the rest of me catches up. Because in the end, it's not just about recognizing danger, it's about protecting the things that matter most.